The world we live in is so consumed with entertaining television. All this talk from people saying the best show of all time is coming back to the air in about a week with the last season of Game of Thrones, when in actuality, I don't think it even compares to the dramatic up and down soap opera we witnessed this past season of The Lake Show. To recap, LeBron James signs with the team on the first day of free agency, July 1st, and everyone goes crazy, myself included. The front office follows suit by surrounding LeBron with Shaq and a fool all-timers. Between JaVale McGee, Lance Stevenson, Michael Beasley, the Lakers become the meme team. The vision, though, being that LeBron would slide into more of an off-ball role, low-post scoring type of player with talented young wing players, a generational passer in Lonzo Ball, and playmaking veterans on one-year deals. But the Lakers start off slow. Watching the Lakers shoot and miss free throws is like watching a game of beer pong where nobody can make the final cup. But despite the really poor free throw shooting, the Lakers pick things up, and by Christmas Day, they find themselves at 20-14, which was good enough then for fourth place in a very competitive Western Conference. But a huge Christmas Day win against Golden State comes with the ultimate lump of coal. LeBron goes down with a groin injury. Lakers go 6-11 in the 17 games without him. Where then you see a disinterested LeBron James emerge. LeBron starts pulling up to Staples Center with moments until tip-off, glass of red wine in hand, and it doesn't sit well with the players. Then Lonzo goes down with a season-ending injury against the Rockets. And then, January 28th, drip, 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 Anthony Davis tells the Pelicans he has no intention of signing a contract extension and demands to be traded with the preference to the Los Angeles Lakers. Drip, drip, drip. Drip, drip, drip. Davis doesn't hide the fact that he wants to be a Laker. The Lakers don't hide the fact that they want Davis. Drip, drip, drip. Trade rumors all over the media. Lakers get desperate. They offer just about everyone. Drip, drip, drip. Here comes the trade deadline. What happens? The Lakers trade Ivica Zubac to the Clippers for none other than Mike Muscala, a promising young big man to the Clippers, all in exchange for a bag of chips. Jerry West and the Clippers, they're playing chess, while Magic, Rob Pelinka, and the Lakers are playing Battleship. Magic and Rob keep on firing away, coming up empty with these guesses. Meanwhile, the ship is sinking, LeVar Ball starts running his mouth again, and the original plan to remain patient with the young core is ultimately scrapped when, drip, 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 the Lakers offer just about everyone for Anthony Davis, except by the time the trade deadline passes, Anthony Davis is still in New Orleans. And in trying to get Anthony Davis, the Lakers front office pretty much gets exposed like a husband cheating on his wife with the next-door neighbor. Only thing is, that neighbor actually never wanted you and instead embarrassed you by posting screenshots of the conversations for the world to see. And we all know flowers don't fix your problems like that. Now you got trust issues. The young core starts questioning their worth. The locker room infighting begins. And Luke Walton is left to pick up all the pieces of a front office who has set him up to fail. But the show must go on, right? Well, Magic addresses the team. Doesn't change much. Kuzma gets hurt. Ingram gets hurt. Josh Hart gets hurt. The Lakers limp to the finish line. And on the season finale of The Lake Show, before a bunch of G-Leaguers hit the court for the last game of the year, we're hit with the ultimate plot twist. Magic Johnson steps down as president of basketball operations. What a season. Magic Johnson, as you know, named president of basketball operations back in February of 2017 by Jeannie Buss after she ousted her own brother. Savage move. And you get Magic in the office. He did a pretty good job, For every good move, though, you have your head scratchers. There's a lot of good that came from the Magic era. You drafted Lonzo, Kuzma, Josh Hart. The ultimate crown jewel, obviously, signing a free agent superstar, which the Lakers weren't able to do under Jim Buss and Mitch Kupchak. You get LeBron James to a 4-year max contract. But again, for every good move, you have your head scratchers. I'm not going to sit here and blast him for trading D'Angelo Russell because, in fairness, the previous regime put the team in a miserable salary cap situation with contracts for Timothy Mozgov and Luol Deng, which anybody could have told you was a bad idea. And getting rid of Mozgov and Russell created space for LeBron. So my issue with the D'Angelo Russell trade was not getting rid of Russell, but rather the fact that they didn't keep the guy who they traded for. Brook Lopez was exactly the type of guy you wanted to keep. He definitely wasn't a rebounder, but the guy became much better from downtown. And instead of jumping at the chance to bring back a high-level three-point shooting big at 7 feet, willing to sign for a team-friendly deal, Magic and Rob decided to sign Lance Stevenson, Rajon Rondo, and Michael Beasley to 1-year deals. History and conventional knowledge tells you that when assembling a team around LeBron James, you need shooters. Brook Lopez wanted to come back, and he would have done so for cheap. Parting ways with Brook Lopez is issue number 1. Failing to assemble a three-point shooting team is issue number 2. And some will point to the fact that Julius Randle's balling out too, but I'm not even going to go there with Magic Johnson. I'm not going to go there. Julius Randle's a good player, but that's not where I want to go. Issue number 3 is the fact that they completely devalued the other young big guys in the organization. You got rid of Thomas Bryant for nothing. He's shown to be a developing player over with the Wizards. Trading Zubac to the Clippers for Mike Muscala just about did it for me. For all the good Magic and Rob did to create space to sign LeBron, I mean, those two badly misused company assets. But now we're here. Magic Johnson has abruptly quit the team. And what does this mean? What does this mean for Luke Walton? Well, I'm sure he's as shocked as anyone. I mean, that he lasted longer than Magic Johnson is nothing short of a miracle. But if the Lakers do keep Luke Walton, I hope he adds more experience to that coaching staff. He needs better rotations, and quite frankly, he has to get better at allocating minutes. Because for the Lakers to start taking the step to getting on the same page, they have to make the right moves, and Luke Walton, if he's going to be the guy, has to have it up here. And when you look at the best teams in the league, all of them are in alignment. Look at the Warriors, for instance. From ownership to president, head coach, and superstar, those guys are all on the same page. And now the objective is, for when you're hiring your new president, and if Pelinka is out the door too, you're possibly going to need a new GM. And you want to do all that, if you're the Lakers, by at least the middle of May, because when you've got to figure out if the new people calling the shots are on the same page as Luke Walton, you got to do it early. Because take a look at the calendar. May 14th is the draft lottery. The combine begins in Chicago that same day. And then ultimately it's about putting players through workouts at the team facility. You want to figure out who you're going to select with what projects to be the 11th or 12th pick on the NBA draft in June 20th to be exact. And then, of course, the ultimate test. July 1st, free agency. You got unrestricted free agents, Jimmy Butler, DeMarcus Cousins, Tobias Harris, Klay Thompson, Nikola Vucevic is a guy that I like, Kemba Walker, and then guys with player options, superstars like Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Kawhi Leonard, Chris Middleton's a really good player. And then while you're chasing those A-list guys, you got to wonder, don't forget about the guys that helped you inside your own building. The guys that helped you remain stable. The JaVale McGee's. Alex Caruso, who's definitely earned a spot on this roster as at least a backup point guard. And oh yeah, by that time too, July, Anthony Davis will be back on the trade market. Now the Lakers have time, but the sooner they make a decision, the better. Because you want to find out if Luke is your guy or if it's time to go in a separate direction. Now, there's a compelling case that's to be made for both keeping Luke Walton and getting rid of him. On one hand, he was tasked with the impossible. Maintain a locker room filled with veterans on one-year deals playing for their next contract. Oh, and by the way, with LeBron on the team, transition into somewhat of a win-now mode, but not at the cost of risking the young core's development. Luke Walton had the team in 4th place at Christmas, 20-14. And despite all the injuries, the trade rumors, the turmoil of the front office, Luke was able to rally the team to somewhat of a strong finish at the end of the season, with G League players leading the team by beating playoff teams like the Jazz, the Clippers, the Blazers. Those guys were playing for seeding. The Lakers had a bunch of G Leaguers, and they were beating them. Those last 3 games, and even the last one, that really says a lot about the type of team that the Lakers had. But on the other hand, Luke, in 3 seasons, only able to win 98 games. Not exactly a compelling resume there. And a complete fresh start might be the direction that a new team president wants to do when the organization decides they want to regroup. And the thing is with the Lakers, they've become this NBA premier brand. The premier brand of the entire league by winning dozens of championships across multiple decades. But nostalgia is one hell of a drug, and the Lakers are well-known addicts. This is a franchise that's been fiending for a return to the glory days. So much so that they rebranded themselves back to the Showtime era uniforms. Showtime. LeBron's here. We're changing our uniforms. Get excited again. Oh, and by the way, between Byron Scott and Luke Walton, the past 2 coaches are former Laker players themselves. And now in desperate hopes of trying to land a superstar, Jeannie Buss hired a familiar face in Magic Johnson to oversee basketball operations. And now, 2 years later, Magic has had enough. And now with the vacancy, it's become clear that it's time for the Lakers to stop hiring familiar faces and start hiring people based off of qualifications. Former Cavs GM David Griffin, now he's more than qualified. But here's what I'm not okay with. I'm not okay with David Griffin coming in as president, with James Jones becoming the next GM, and Tyronn Lue roaming the sidelines as the next head coach, because by then, the organization should fully commit to rebranding themselves as the Clutch Sports LeBrons of Los Angeles. Because we all know who's calling the shots. It'll be LeBron James, bringing his buddies in to run the team. The only familiar face that's worth giving a call, I would say, is Jerry West. But the Lakers can't just throw fairy dust into the air and make Jerry West appear. West already has a job. He's employed by a guy who has been privately ridiculed by Jeannie Buss and has an infinite amount of cash over on the other side of town with the Los Angeles Clippers. And from acquiring the Clippers well above market value to announcing his intentions to build his own stadium, it's clear that Steve Ballmer doesn't care about the money. But the question is, does Jerry West care about the money? Because if it comes down to a bidding war, I'm telling you, Steve Ballmer will unload the Brinks truck for Jerry West in spite of Jeannie Buss. And finances aside, Ballmer's pitch to Jerry West is still pretty convincing. I mean, Jeannie Buss had the chance to bring Jerry West back in the building, but she opted for Magic Johnson instead, who had no prior front office experience. So, again, the Magic Johnson experience obviously failed, but even if Magic was the worst possible president of basketball operations, which, by the way, he wasn't, his status as a Laker legend will never fade away, and people taking cheap shots at Magic Johnson need to stop. Because Magic has always been best as an ambassador to the Laker brand. The game of basketball, one of the best brands, one of the best marketers we've ever seen. And just for sports as a whole, Magic Johnson is so important. So each and every reason he's citing for stepping down from his role as president of the team, it all makes sense. I mean, that man is a living legend, and he deserves to be treated as such. But that said, Dr. Jerry Buss has got to be rolling in his grave with the state of the Los Angeles Lakers. Someone has to fix this thing. Even though the magic trick was a failure, I'm not going to give up. I'm always going to have a little blind faith in the Lakers, even if it leads me to run face first into the wall. But we'll just have to wait and see what Jeannie Buss is going to do, who she's going to get in the building. Because if the Lakers haven't tied the Celtics with their 17th NBA championship in the next 4 years, well, the Space Jam 2 experiment will just be a complete failure.